Hello and welcome to the Bucket List Adventure Travel Show. This week I'm joined with Hannah. Hannah is our content creator in the office, and today we're going to be talking about all things photos and videos related. So I'm going to give you some top tips on how to take better photos and better videos when you're traveling on our trips. One of the things I wanted to say was we saw so many people at the NEC over the weekend, and lots of people were asking us about some of the tips and tricks that we've got when taking some fantastic photos. You can see, obviously, we put that up at the beginning, the diving one with Keith. So we thought it would be a great opportunity for us to do a live and give a little bit more information for those people who were interested. So what have you got for us first, Hannah?
Well, I wanted to focus on phones because everyone has a phone, probably, unless people have a camera, and it's always easy to take around with you and get photos and videos that are good quality. So I would say that some tips that people don't really think about are, for example, the first thing you should always do is wipe the lens of your phone. You can use any soft fabric really, and like a jumper, and wipe your lens, and that will probably increase the quality of your photos and videos by a lot. And then the second thing I would say is camera settings on your phone, and I can only really talk about iPhone settings, but on your phone you'll have camera. If you can see. You can go onto camera, you can go onto record video, and you can change the settings, and you want it to be at the highest setting, which will be 4K at 60 FPS. You don't really need to worry what that means, but it just means that you're going to have high quality on your camera. And then I would say as well, when you're away on a trip, that potentially it could be sunny, it could be not sunny as well, but lighting is always key. So you always want to make sure that it's well lit if possible. You don't really want to use artificial light, but you can always bring either your own light or use a flash on your phone as well. But if you get the subject that you're taking to stand in direct light without any shadows, then you'll probably get the best sort of photo or video from that too.
So we're going to try and do a couple of examples today, mainly because I've been told by Hannah that the photos that I send back after the trips might not be up to the standard that she's after for all the content. So it is mostly about trying to get me to take some better photos on our trips because, as I say, I started off as a leader, I still run lots of the trips, and that was always my focus. So I need to work on that a little bit more. So Hannah's going to try and teach me some of those. If you've got any questions about other trips or any trips that you've got coming up, still pop those comments in, ask us any questions, as well as covering all the stuff to do with photos and videos. We will still be answering questions to do with your general trips as well. So Hannah, if you want to give us an example and then see if you can teach me, hopefully you guys will also, it should make lots of sense.
So when you're away, you probably will want to get a sunset photo, and well, if you don't, then I recommend it. And I just came back from a surf and yoga trip, so I was taking a lot of pictures of the sunset. And for example, this is the sun, if you can tell. But then you can also lower the exposure on your phone, on an iPhone, to create sort of a darker effect, if you can sort of see an orangey sunset there. So I want you to try and see if you can play around with the exposure on your phone as well.
Okay, so how do I do that then? So I've got, so on my iPhone, I can go onto the camera setting.
Yeah.
And then, to be honest, people see that is usually, I would just point and shoot and take a photo and kind of hope for the best. So what would I do from here?
So if we want to take an example, the photo of a helmet.
Yeah, okay, lovely, from the office that we're in at the moment.
Yeah. You can always tap on it to bring the focus there, which will be, bring it into focus. But you can also move the sundial up and down, which will increase or decrease the exposure at the given time, but still keep your subject in focus too. I don't know if you can show a bit of an example.
Yeah, just trying to move it up and down a bit, adds to the focus.
Yeah.
Okay, that's not something I would have thought about, but does that make a big difference when you come to editing it afterwards?
I mean, you could probably potentially not edit if you do something like that. If it's kind of a dark photo and you want to increase the light and you didn't know how to, just give it a go, moving the sundial up and down on an iPhone. Yeah, that normally helps. But if you're taking photos of people, I would recommend that you can go into settings on your iPhone and you can go into the camera settings, and you will have an option of a grid as well. So that will show grid lines on the photo.
So how do I do that from here then? So I'm on my
Okay.
phone at the moment,
So
like
you need
this.
to go to settings on your phone.
So settings on the main.
Yeah, before you even go into the camera app.
There you go, I'm getting ahead of myself. Okay, so I go into settings there.
You scroll down to the camera.
Scroll down to the camera. There you go. Okay, so then I'm on the right page here.
Yep.
Right page, there you go. So we go into the camera settings.
So this is where you can increase the quality to, where it says at the record photos or take videos at, and you can change the settings there. But if you want to get the grid up, you just turn the toggle on at the bottom where it says grid.
Okay, so grid is now on, and if I go
Yeah.
back to my okay, there you go. There's a big difference. There's a
See
grid
the grid lines here.
on that.
So if you're taking photos of people, I would always recommend to keep the top third free, just so you can get a bit more of the background in. Yeah, so if you just got someone in the bottom 2/3, then that's going to sort of bring the whole environment into the photo too. If you're going to put them into the entire frame, you're probably going to look a bit squished, and it's probably not going to be a brilliant photo if you're taking it of people.
Okay, we have had a question come in, and one of our friends, or somebody has said, one of my friends always takes really good pictures on 0.5. I've only just noticed those settings on my phone. Do you use them, and if so, what for? So when you've got the different settings on the bottom,
Yeah.
0.5, ×1, that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
What's the difference? When would you use each one?
I would say if you're using a 0.5 lens, then that's really good for getting the whole background in, or maybe you've got a really good big group of people as well, and you can't fit them all in a photo and you want to take a selfie, you can do 0.5 as well there. And I would say using the ×3, if you have that option as well, can make it so that it's better quality, which sounds like it wouldn't be, but if you've got something that's really far away, instead of zooming in and sort of getting half quality of like a half zoom or something, if you go on the already sort of set settings of ×3, then that will probably bring together a bit better quality on your phone. I don't know if you want to try.
Interesting. Okay, so how would I go about that then? So I've got my grid up. So
Yeah.
I've got my phone on there. I've now set the grid. So if I am taking photos of people, I can look at, what did you say, keeping the top third
The top third
empty? Okay,
which
so
will
top
probably
third
either
empty.
be the sky or the surroundings as well.
Okay, and then I've got the little settings at the bottom. So with 0.5. Now, what did you say I need to set it to? Give that a go.
So 0.5, yeah, and you can see the
0.5.
difference it makes. You see how much bigger the background is, and you can fit
Okay.
a lot more in.
There you go.
can sort of see.
We go 0.5 and then through to a 1. Okay, that is a massive difference already.
Yeah. And my phone would have the ×3 option as well of, zooming in even closer, which will get better quality. But
okay, that's quite clever. So do most phones have this, or is it just iPhones, or if you've got other phones, do they usually have the 0.5, the 1 setting?
They normally do have different zoom settings. I mean, I've seen some of the other Android phones as well. You'll have like 5 cameras on the back, and you can get ×10 close into something, which will get really great quality, but even if it's far away.
Okay, see, I get a lot of people, so when I'm running these trips, I get a lot of people saying to me beforehand, they go, there we go, it's just come in as a question, so that's good timing. Do most people bring big cameras on treks or just use their phones now? And that is a really interesting point, because I get lots of people asking me on our trips, do I need to take a big camera? Can I get away with just my phone? Especially if you're doing something like an Everest Base Camp trip where there are weight restrictions with the Lukla flights and your travel, and all of that extra weight could be going towards extra socks and trousers and warm fleeces. So it is a bit of a way up. I have never taken a big camera on one of my trips. I've always used my iPhone. Maybe that's because I don't know that I would be able to get that camera to do all it can do. I probably wouldn't understand most about it. But what would you say to people if they're trying to weigh up the options? Is an iPhone or is a phone going to be, okay for taking those photos? Can you get some amazing photos, or do people need to look into taking a bigger camera with them?
I would say you probably only need a big camera if you are really into photography, and as you said, like not a lot of people know how to actually use the camera to the best ability, because you can go there, you can take your camera, set it on auto, and it might not actually turn out that good. For example, with the sunset photos that we just saw, you could be taking a photo of that sunset and it will come out sort of overexposed, and then you don't know how to adjust it unless you are sort of interested in photography. Whereas on your phone, using just those little tips like that, you can probably already get a pretty decent photo of the sunset. But if you do want to focus and maybe bring the exposure down a little bit, you can easily do that just by clicking it and dragging it up and down. So you definitely don't need to bring a big camera unless that's what you want and you're interested in getting good photos.
If you are going to bring a big camera, something that I've had from experience with people who have joined me on trips with them is batteries. Okay, and there's another question that has come through: is will the battery on my cameras and my phones last in low temperatures or extreme high temperatures? Because depending on the trip that you do with us, you could be going to temperatures -20, +30 if you're doing the Sahara Desert Trek, and that does tend to have a little bit of an effect on technology. So there's a couple of things that I've worked out from my experiences, and you might be able to elaborate on these as well.
Yeah.
Batteries like staying warm, okay, or at least in a neutral climate. Okay, so if you go to a hot country, you want to try and keep them a little bit cool. A couple of different ways that I found that, and I only take my phone. So granted, I'm not taking big cameras, but I do take battery packs to charge my phone and watch and things like that as well. I've recently discovered, and it's been a game changer for me, I get quite excited about things like this, is I've recently discovered a bit of kit that you can put your phone or battery packs into, and it is essentially down sleeping bag for your phone or for your battery packs and things like that. So if you are taking, let's say, Everest Base Camp, for instance, you're going to be on the trail for multiple days. There aren't always charging ports and accessibility to power as you get higher up. And if there is, lots of places will charge for it. So if you can take a couple of battery packs with you, that's going to save you a little bit of money and a little bit of time as you go up. So finding different ways to keep your batteries either warm or cool in those different environments is really important. And one of those ways is by finding that little down sleeping bag. I think I got mine off Amazon. It was just an insulated phone case. Other things that I used to do before is when I go to bed at night, I would put my phone into my sleeping bag with me, and that's going to keep it nice and warm against my body and against the sleeping bag, so the battery is less likely to die. In the Sahara, in hot environments, again, I try and keep it in the shade. I won't always have my phone out in my hand because that's going to start building the temperature up, so I try and put it in the bag itself next to some clothing, some cotton t-shirts or synthetic t-shirts, just to try and keep that temperature down as well.
Yeah, definitely always keep your phone out of the sun because it will get hot and you probably won't be able to use it as well. Sometimes if you've been to the beach and you take your phone out and it's red hot, and then you probably won't be able to use it until it cools down a little bit as well.
Yeah, and that's going to be really annoying if you have gone on one of these trips and then suddenly you see the perfect photo opportunity and then you've left it out in the sun or left it to go cold and the battery's died. That's going to be quite annoying. What have we got coming through? So we've got a few more questions, things like that. So one of them was about culture and the culture of being in different countries around photos and things like that. Now, it's quite an important thing because we travel so many different countries. Yes. Some of them are very happy with you going around, taking photos anywhere and everywhere. And that's great. That's great for us. It's great for you guys. There's a couple of countries that we go to, Jordan in the Middle East when we go around and we visit Petra, Morocco as well. There's a few countries that you might want to be a little bit sensitive about or just aware of the culture when you're taking photographs. So as well as learning how to take the best photographs with all the tips that Hannah's been giving us and is going to give us, when it comes into some of these countries, let's say you're going around the souks in Marrakesh, just be a little bit aware. There's two things. One, when you're taking pictures of people, try and get their permission first. If it's a big public space, it's a little bit different, but if you're going up and you're zooming in on people, you know, they might take offence at that. You need to be a little bit culturally aware and you know, try and find out as much as you can first. We will give you guidelines on the countries that you're going to, so you do have a bit of an awareness of that before you go. And the other thing that I wasn't aware until I first went to Morocco is that quite often you will get people coming up to you, especially in the souks, and they'll say, would you like to have a photograph of my monkey or the snake or something like that? And you do, you take that photograph and suddenly they're charging you 20, 30, 40 pounds. Okay, so again, being aware of things like that, it's great to take photos while you're away, it's great to have those memories to look back on, but just be a little bit aware that, you know, firstly, you get people's permission, and second of all, if you feel like somebody's going to sell you something, you know, you just find out what that is, because it's a little bit harder once you've taken that photo to dispute it.
I mean, it happens in London as well when you go there and people are sort of performing. It doesn't have to be people that are performing, but for example, in the Marrakesh Square, if you do take pictures of people and they catch you, or you know, you're taking a photo of a camel walking past as well, they'll probably try and make you pay for that. It's just something to be aware of as well.
So what would you say? So you were out in Morocco last week, and you did the surf and yoga retreat. How did you find that, first of all?
It was amazing.
Yeah.
Definitely, if anyone likes yoga or wants to like yoga, wants to get into it a little bit and learn, it's definitely beginner level, and they'll teach you every step of the way. So you're not sort of left to your own device of like, okay, now go surf. They don't do that. So yeah, it was a really good experience. I've never surfed before, and I managed to stand up a few times, and I fell off again, but it was still really good. So I'd recommend that to anyone. But you do have 2 days in Marrakesh at the start and the end, so you can always get some good photos there and of the sunset around as well.
So what would you say that if you could think, and I am putting you on the spot because I've not prepped you on this, what would you say your favourite pictures were that you brought back, or you took on the trip and you came back with? When you were looking through those photos again, what really stood out to you?
I think it's getting sort of a unique sort of perspective on things that maybe people wouldn't think about. Sometimes you do just have an eye for things. For example, you're walking down the street and you notice that the flowers are framing the street really well, and you're just like, the colours match and everything like that, and you just want to capture that moment. And there's sort of a lot of colourful places when you're in Morocco, when you visit all the different towns as well, where we go to day trips. There's definitely lots of photo-worthy times. So mine would be flowers framing a lovely, colourful street when I was there.
Amazing. Yeah, Morocco is such a vibrant country, full of culture, full of sounds, smells. Colour is the big one. We've always said, and if you did come to the NEC over the weekend, I'm sure you would have heard me saying it, Morocco is the biggest culture shock for the least amount of air miles, is what we've been saying. And it's so true. So actually getting over there and taking those photos to come back with is really quite special. Later on, so we're going to go through a few more travel tips that Hannah's got written down. Later on as well, we're going to be announcing the winners of our bucket list photography competition. So we did a competition a little while ago, and people entered in and posted their photos to feature in this month's edition, or this edition of Bucket Lister. So stick around and find out who we selected as our winning photograph for this month's Bucket Lister.
They were all really good and hard to pick from, but yeah.
Hannah had a very difficult job. We said you've got to pick a top 3, and it did take a little while. Okay.
Yeah, everyone's was really good, but maybe if you use our tips, you'll be featured in the next one.
There you go. I'm going to give it a go as well. Because I need to get better. So what else have we got on the list then? So we've gone over some people, some landscapes, setting up a grid system. So that's going to be really important. I'm definitely going to keep that on my phone now. I wasn't aware of the difference between 0.5 and the 1 times and what that would be for. But what else have you got for us?
I would say that the more you take photos, you sort of realise what looks good and what doesn't look good, and that only really comes with time as well. You could be walking along and you could try our different settings, and for example, it will look really good if you are getting sort of a different sunset and you take the exposure down a little bit, and that one looks really good, but then you try it again on a really bright street and you're like thinking that it takes all the colour out, so you sort of have to play around with it as well, I would say. But you can always enhance photos after you've taken them as well. I mean, a lot of phones do have adjustments in after you've taken the picture. And I would say the three main ones you could look at is either the exposure or the brightness. And I would say potentially the sharpness as well of a photo, and the shadows too if it's looking quite dark. You would probably have that on your phone sort of ready made. So if I sort of take a picture of behind, and then you can go onto the edit button at the bottom of your phone, and you would find it all here. This one is the exposure. You can just tap on that and bring it up and down, as you can see. And then you would go to the shadows. I mean, there's some shadows at the top, and you can just brighten or lower to sort of bring those out a little bit. And also the sharpness, which will just increase the sharpness of the photo, maybe make it a bit better quality, but you do have to play around with it, I would say, and see what works too.
Okay, so we started to touch on editing a little bit, which is really good. And that leads me very nicely into another question that we've got under here, which is, what do you think about adding standard filters offered by your photo app or Instagram before uploading photos to Instagram, etc.?
I would say that filters can look really good, but you can also play around with them. You can, I know on Instagram you can adjust the level of filter you put on it, but I would say always save the photo in its raw state before adding any filters every time, because you never know, you might want to change it later on, you might want to change it into black and white or just have that standard photo. I would say personally, most of the time the photos look good from just how you would see them, and maybe potentially just increasing the brightness up and down. And filters can sometimes look a bit either dated or, you know, not really bring the best out of the photo, but you can play around with it. It's not every time it looks bad. Sometimes it does look really good, and some photo apps have really great presets that you can try as well. But always save the photo before doing any editing, because you never know, you might want to change it up later on.
That is a really good tip as well. And I think, yeah, save everything is the big one.
Yeah.
And actually another one, if you are using your phone and you're traveling, maybe having a backup system like the cloud or OneDrive or G Drive or something like that. Because the worst thing, in my opinion, even with my subpar photos, would be going away, taking loads of photos. Something happens, maybe you haven't listened to our tips on how to keep your phone cool or not get too cold, and you've lost all of your pictures. So yeah, make sure you back them up, and then you can always play around with editing them from there. But yeah, save your photos,
definitely
back it all up.
Save your photos, and always bring probably a portable charger as well, just so it never dies on you. But I would say as well, it's not just photos that you might want to get. You might want to get some really good videos as well. And if you've looked at our social media, a lot of it, we are taking videos and showing you what the trips are like. I mean, we have a link to our TikTok too, and you can see all the photos and videos that we're sort of making on there. But if you want to take a great video, you could try transitions, and that might sound a bit scary if you've never done it before, but you can take some really easy transitions that can kind of take the video to the next level. There was a video that I did of closing a laptop, and then you can see me opening it up into the window of the plane, and it sort of looked obviously that it was in sort of the same sort of time, but it's given that illusion a little bit. So if you wanted to do something like that, you can always just take your phone and, for example, if you're closing the laptop, you just follow it up and down as you're closing the lid, and then open it again on the plane. That's just been linked there as well if you want to take a look. But another quite easy transition, I would say, if you're wanting to show maybe the difference from at home to going on holiday and ending up at the beach or something like that, you can take a video at home and then sort of bring your hand into the frame and cover it, and then you can obviously stop the video. And then when you get to your destination, start by covering it again, and then take it off, and then obviously show your surroundings of where you've ended up. And it sort of will show, you know, the difference from home to when you're away, and it could look pretty good, but it's super easy to do, and not many people do it. They sort of take a video, maybe like panning it across back and forth, but it can look really good if you give it a try.
Nice.
As well, I would say you can use different video editing apps as well to sort of cut them in the right frame if you don't know how to do that. They're quite easy to use. There's quite a lot online as well. If you want to make, for example, a really good TikTok, you can give that a go.
Cool. Well, yeah, I think we have attached some of those links and videos and things in there, so we can give you loads and loads of ideas. Because I know that that's one of the things is that I'll see something online and I'll go, that looks so cool, but I wouldn't know where to start or how to go about it. But it does seem a lot simpler than I thought. And what we can always do is, if you guys are interested, obviously pop the comments in. What we can do is do another video on this. So once you captured that content, once you've taken those photos, once you've taken those videos, we would love to do another one of these and maybe talk you through how to turn that content into that Instagram-worthy reels and videos and pictures that you see. So obviously just pop us a comment and let us know if that's something that would be of interest.
Yep, and if you take any photos or videos, please tag us as well, because we always reshare some of the really good ones, and yeah, it's always great to see the photos that you always bring back from our trips.
Well, that leads us really nicely onto the bit that some of you would have been waiting for, and that is our competition winner. So who has featured into this volume of the Bucket Lister? Okay, so Hannah has been sifting through loads of pictures over the last month and has had a very, very difficult job. I'm not jealous at all. Okay, but we will be doing more of these, so if people tag us in your photos, send those photos in, then as Hannah said, you too could feature in one of our bucket listers. So we're going to go through, obviously there's loads of content in here about all of the trips that we have been up to and some future trips. There's a meet the guide section, so it's absolutely packed full of information. And the winner of this quarter is Jane Briley. Now Jane Briley took this picture, which I think you can all agree is absolutely stunning, from our Easter Island and Chile adventure. So that happened in the last couple of months. We flew out and we took a group out to Chile and Easter Island. Can you maybe tell us a little bit, Hannah, about why that picture won the best and got featured into our bucket lister?
I think it's just obviously the Moy heads as well look amazing. Not everyone gets a chance to see those, and just how it's framed. I've all talked about the third theory of keeping a bit of the sky in as well. It looks really great, and yeah, it looks really great.
It was an amazing picture and really captured the size of the Moy heads and the scale that Easter Island is on. So yeah, it definitely had to feature, and we decided that it was worthy of a #1 spot. What we have done is we have attached the link into the Facebook groups for this copy, or for a copy of this month's Bucket List magazine, or no, there you go, you can email into at the Bucket List Company as well if you are interested. So if you want to see who the runner-ups were very narrowly, go and check that out and have a look, and we can send you a copy. Okay. Have you got anything else to add with your top travel tips?
I would just say keep taking photos, take lots of videos, and you never know which ones are going to look good. You can use our tips as well and see the difference it makes. But yeah, definitely just keep trying. There will get better with time, I promise. But yeah.
Brilliant. Okay, well, thank you very, very much for tuning in and listening to this week's episode of the Bucket List Adventure Travel Show. I will be back, joined by somebody, to talk about all of our amazing trips next Tuesday. Okay, so pay attention and keep an eye out, and we will be releasing what we'll be talking about a little bit later on. Thank you very, very much. We'll see you next week.
Thank you.
I'll make you move like your boots are on fire.